Hello and welcome to another video in our Azure Synapse Analytics series. We're going to pick right back up where we left off in the last video, and that's going to be working with notebooks. In the last video in this series, we created an Apache Spark cluster. If you like this video and you like what we do here at Pragmatic Works, make sure to take a look at the description below. Take a look at pragmaticworks.com, sign up for our live training boot camps, our on-demand learning, our hackathons, and we also do one-on-one mentoring with our virtual mentoring program. Also, I love it when people like my videos, so please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. Now let's jump right in and take a look at what we're going to be discussing here over the next few minutes. So notebooks, as we've talked about before, they give us that ability of doing like live code. Within the live code, within a notebook, we have visualizations. We can also do our documentation. I love the fact that we can do documentation here, keeping the information about the code that we're writing as close to the code as possible. The compute that we use, as we talked about in the last video, Apache Spark pools. Now, the cool thing about Apache Spark notebooks, or these notebooks that we use on top of Apache Spark in general, is the fact that there are multiple languages available. Now, if you're transitioning to this from Databricks, in Databricks, you'll notice that there's PySpark, there is Scala, there's R, and there's Spark SQL. In Azure Synapse Analytics, we get 4 primary languages as well, but we don't get R. Instead, Microsoft replaced R with .NET. So you get PySpark, Scala, Spark SQL, and .NET for C#. All right, so those are the 4 primary languages. The cool thing about this, we won't get to it in this video, is that you can switch between different languages in the same notebook. So I can import data with PySpark, I can put that into a temporary view, I can query that data with Spark SQL, and then if I want, I could write that data to a dedicated pool using Scala. So you can literally switch between different languages, which is unbelievable, extremely powerful, gives you a lot of flexibility, as we've talked about before, and a lot of versatility, right, as you can probably imagine. So these are going to be the primary languages. Today we're going to take a real quick look at PySpark. So this is really talking about kind of some of the key features that exist within notebooks within Azure Synapse Analytics. And I really do like the notebook experience. In fact, I'm going to follow this up with a quick kind of 5 tips and tricks to notebooks video. This should be either the next video or the one after that. But some of the kind of anatomy, if you will, of a notebook is the outline. You can set up an outline on the left-hand side. I love that feature. I've been using it for my labs that I build for my classes. You can also look at all the variables. Now, if you've worked with notebooks before, you know a lot of times we like to print the variables so that we can see the result down below. But inside of ASA, there's actually its own variables pane where we can take a look at the variables and the values of those variables. You can add comments like you see on the screen right here. You also have code and markdown cells. A code cell is the actual code that you're going to run, writing data, reading data, generating a visualization, training your model, whereas a markdown cell is the documentation. So if you come from Databricks, again, in Databricks, you would use the magic command %md to turn that cell into a markdown code cell, whatever. In Azure Synapse Analytics, you actually just create the cell as a markdown cell. So a little bit different, but same concept. And then we also have something known as parameter cells. Now, again, we won't get to that in this video, probably in a video in the future. Hopefully, this series is going to go on for probably quite some time. And in that parameter cell, that allows me to pass values into my notebook, maybe from my pipeline or maybe from another notebook, so that you can kind of create a parent-child kind of design pattern, right? And make those notebooks a little bit more modular and reusable. All right, so, and then we can hide and show output. All right, that's it for the slides, fortunately, because I'm about wore out with the slides. So what we're going to do is jump back over to our ASA environment, and we're going to jump right in and take a look at the integration that exists with Synapse Analytics and notebooks, and then we'll take a look at another notebook as well. So I'll see you there. When you're creating a notebook inside of ASA, you can create that notebook by creating a new notebook and then writing everything from scratch. You could also choose to just import a Python notebook from somewhere else and then running that one, maybe making some small modifications. Also, we could start a new notebook with the built-in functionality that exists within ASA. So what I mean by that is very simply, if I go over to my data lake right here in our ASA environment, and from there, I choose to return a notebook or create a notebook, I could do that just to simply read the data. And it's a really great way of getting started. So for example, if I come over here to my data hub, I go into my linked, I go into my training folder, and I go into training data, I have this holiday.snappy.parquet file, right? And if I right click on it, you've seen this before, we can select top 100, we can create an external table. I can also create a new notebook, and I can load the data into a data frame. Now this data frame is effectively a table. It is a table that can be used. It's essentially columns and rows. So for all intents and purposes, it's a table. So that's a great thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to load this to a data frame. Now this is going to write the code necessary to pull the data from the data lake. Because this is my primary data lake in my ASA environment, this is a relatively simple connection. You could also make connections, obviously, to other data stores like dedicated pools, Azure SQL database, things like that, but it does require quite a bit more code in order to make those connections. And in some instances, you might only be able to use a specific language. You might also have to import certain packages to do that. So later in the series, we're going to get into pipelines and data flows and how easy it is to use that graphical user interface. And a lot of people love that because it is a lot easier just to get started. This gives me more flexibility, more versatility long term, but there's a larger learning curve to getting in and working with notebooks. Now across the top, the first thing that I need to do here is on my notebook, I need to point to my Spark pool, and then I need to choose my language. Now by default, this is PySpark. You can see that it's this code cell specifically is pulling in data for Python or PySpark, which is a version of Python that is developed for Apache Spark. All right, and so I can run this cell. Now, when I run the cell, it's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes to spin up my Spark pool, and then I'm going to actually limit the data or display the data and limit it to only about 10 rows. So it's essentially the equivalent of a top 10 in SQL. However, I'm not actually going to run this one because I'm trying to keep this video a little bit shorter. But if you're following along at home, feel free to go ahead and run the code, set it up like this, and all you have to do is either run all, which will run all the code blocks within this notebook, or you can run this one individually by clicking right there on Run Cell. Of course, the other option is you can click Shift Enter, and when you click Shift Enter, it will run this cell, only this cell, and go down to the next cell as well. But what I want to do is jump into a little bit more practical example that I imported from one of my other classes. So over here under Develop, I have this Writing Data folder, and I've already started my cluster, so I don't have to wait 5 minutes as long as I don't take too long to get started. Remember, they turn off automatically. If you remember in our last video, this might time out on me, so I don't want to take too long here. So I've got a cluster running. It's using my Spark pool, and it's using Python, right? Now, you'll notice I've put some documentation in here. This is a markdown cell. I can double click in here. I can make modifications, but this is simply documentation, right? This down here is a series of variables. This is pretty cool. This makes the code reusable when I'm teaching my classes or if I'm making this modular and I want to use it in different environments. I can come in here at the top and specify what is the name of my data lake, what is my container, my directory, and then I put all of that information together to generate my output path. In fact, let me go ahead and run that cell real quick. And there we go. So this is going to be going to abfss training, that's my container, that's my data lake.dfs.core.windows.net, that's just required. And then I'm going to be putting the data in my training output folder and then in a folder named holiday by country. You'll see this in a minute. What this demo is going to do is I'm actually going to read data from that holiday.snappyparquet file, and I'm going to write that data to this destination. So I'm building the destination here in my variables so they can be reused in my notebook further down. And it makes the code a lot easier to read, just like using variables in any other language, DAX, SQL, whatever. So now I'm going to go down to the next code cell, and I'm going to run a spark.read.load command. And so this is going to load the data from this location. I could have also put this file path right here in a variable just to make it more readable, because what this is it's going to my training folder, to my data lake, to the folder training data, and it's pulling in that file holidaysnappy.parquet. The only other thing I need to do, since I'm doing a load command, is specify that the file type is a Parquet file, so that Synapse Analytics and Spark, make sure my big head isn't in the way, there we go, knows to pull in that data as a Parquet file. So I'm going to go ahead and run that code cell as well, and it ran in about 1 second. Now, unfortunately, I can't really see the data, so let me go ahead and show the data real quick. I'm going to go down to the next line, and then we'll do data frame. So I'm putting all the data, by the way, into this variable, which is essentially a data frame. So it's a data frame named DF. I could have named it whatever I wanted, but now I'm going to take the results of that, and I'm actually going to go ahead and show the results real quick, just so we can see the results. So I hit Shift Enter to run that code, and this is a very simple file. I think it has a couple hundred rows in it. It shows me the country, the holiday name, the country code, and then the date of the holiday. That's all that's in here. All right, and so that's the first part. Now, if I go down a little bit further, I'm going to run a little bit of PySpark, right, to essentially take the information that's in that original data frame and put it in a new data frame called country holiday. And I'm going to run a select command. So I'm saying take the original data frame that had those 5 or 6 columns and select these columns from it. So I'm just like you would do with SQL, I am reducing the size of my data set. This is a very simple command. We're not diving deep in this video, but I'm going to return only 2 of those 5 or 6 columns that we originally had. And then we're going to show the result of this data frame. So we'll hit Shift Enter real quick and give that a moment to display, and there we go. So we went from that original 5, 6, 7 columns down to just these 2. Keep in mind, I could have filtered down the data set to only return maybe a specific country. We could have done a count in here if we wanted to count the number and then on a group by on the country. All the things you can do with SQL, we can kind of do really with Python and PySpark. So we're keeping it simple. Maybe way down the road in this series, I'll come back and actually have a session on just PySpark and some of the fundamentals of using PySpark within notebooks. But again, take a look at our training. I have a notebooks class. This is what, number 7 out of 30 or 40 notebooks that I have, and I'm going to keep building on those as different client engagements require. Now, if I go down a little bit further, you're going to notice that I want to write my data, right? And so I have to write the data, and I'm going to use a command that's very similar to the read command that we did earlier. Remember earlier it was dataframe.read.load. This time I'm going to use dataframe.write.parquet, and I'm going to write it to my output. Remember, the output is that variable we created earlier. That output goes to my training container, to my training output folder, and then to a new folder called holiday by country. And it's going to load the data into that new folder. Notice I did not give it a file name. I did not give it a file name because Apache Spark is an MPP architecture, massive parallel processing. And so when it writes data, you don't really specify a file name because it's going to write the data, especially if you have a lot of data, it's going to write the data in parallel to a lot of small files. And it just kind of randomly generates the names. I'm sure there's a process to it in the background, but to me it seems random. But it creates the names of all of those different files there. And if you're working with big data, a lot of times you're going to connect to the folder that those files are in. You're not connecting to individual files anyway, okay? There is a way to write the data to a very specific, to only like one partition or one file if you need to force that. But we're going to let it do its thing here. Now, what I do need to do is specify the data frame. And I have 2 data frames. I have one data frame called DF. Remember that original data frame. It has all the columns. And then I have a new data frame called data frame DF country holiday. So I'm going to copy that one because that's the data that I want to write to my output folder. And I'm going to put it right here. There we go. And then I'm going to hit Shift Enter again to run that code. Now, this is going to write the data to that location in my data lake. So it should be done. It looks like it's just giving me the results of that execution. So I'm going to go over to my training folder, go back to training, go into my training output, and then there we go. 8:57 at night. See, you need to hit that like and subscribe button. 9 o'clock at night. I'm building these videos here, okay? All right. That's it. That is it. That is all we're going to cover in this video. Again, stay tuned for the next video in the series. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.